do professionally. So in your view, as a hiring manager or a senior, as a recruitment agency, if CVs could demonstrate and show, or if, let's say, when you are doing your due diligence and you discover that this person is a serial cheater, whatever the case may be, would that affect the kind of offer you're going to give them, if you're still going to give them an offer? Or are you of the view that it has absolutely nothing to do with what they deliver in a professional sense? And this, of course, applies to both men and women. So I want to hear from you. Get in touch with us. Give us a call, 011 883 0702. SMS us 31702. Tweet at Relebogile M at Radio 702 using the hashtag 702 Afternoons, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
Nobody forced Malcolm X to reveal himself. And maybe they wanted an exclusive so bad. But what they had forgotten is that Relebogile had said on this show that the person who gave him that information has actually been a police informant before. So you're actually putting your life at risk. Can you imagine if this guy has people around him who've been investigated by the Hawks, for instance, and they've been wondering, how did the Hawks know about this? And now they're sitting there thinking, could it have been this guy? But nobody forced this man to reveal himself like that. And he should have been more cautious. But he went and said, in an exclusive, I'm going to reveal myself as a person who called Lebeya.
Clements Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
Life moves fast and you're keeping up. So maybe it's time you gave yourself some credit with a Visa F&B credit card, a resource that actually helps you move forward. It's about tapping into opportunities, covering what matters, and having the freedom to pursue the things you want on your terms. Get credit that's flexible, guided, and reliable. Because when credit is done right, it doesn't hold you back, it backs you. Apply for a Visa F&B credit card online or visit your nearest branch today. Help changes everything. T's and C's apply. Credit is subject to meeting the qualifying criteria. FNB is a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized financial services and credit provider.
Choose Checkers, SA's #1 value for money supermarket, and save on Knox Hydration Drink 500 mils, any 2 for 28 Rand. Finish dishwasher tablets 45 or 56 pack, any 2 for 419 Rand. And Lindt chocolate product range, buy any and save 20%. Valid until this Sunday at Checkers, Checkers Hyper, or shop on 6060.
702 and corporates that care with Hirsch's are talking about Hirsch's involvement in the Claire Ellis Brown preschool.
So the Claire's Brown School is just the most beautiful little school. This wonderful teacher came through called Sandra McLaren. She said to me something which I don't know if I should have done, but I did, was come through and visit the school. And the school had a beautiful garden, and growing up in a flat, you didn't have a garden. These little kids that live in the area now have somewhere to go and play, which just seems so special. So I thought, how can we get involved with that? And one of the things I found out was they're looking at their books. Their rates were like through the roof, like 6,000 Rand a month in rates, which was just crazy. So after finding people to speak to at the city council and irritating them for months and months, we got the rate reduced to 100 Rand a year and backdated 10 years.
Wow.
And I thought, geez, we can make a little bit of a difference here, which was awesome. Then we started fixing up the school and painting and putting new kitchens and finding food for the kids. And we've been doing that for over 20 years.
Hirsch's, proud to help grow bright futures, one child at a time. Learn more at hirsches.co.za. 702. Let's walk the talk.
702 afternoons.
With Relebogile Mabotja
Lines are always open.
on 011
883
0702.
17 minutes after 1 o'clock, and we continue with our conversation that we're having around cheating in relationships and marriages. If cheating should have legal, if it should have professional consequences and repercussions, should you be able to sue somebody for cheating on you? Or do you feel like, guys, you're making this thing a big deal? Just be done and walk away. On my TikTok live, there is a person, I'm just trying to find the message, Ntase, who says, I'm going through a divorce right now because of cheating. 2 years later with 4 kids. Yo. So here's my thing. If you are caught cheating and you're in a position of power, I hate to say it, but it does, there is some kind of view and perception that changes. if people discover that you are cheating. And as I was sharing earlier of the gentleman who said he cannot do business with men who cheat on their wives, and again, let me reiterate, every reference of a man also applies to a woman cheating on their spouses. That you cannot trust that person. If you can't trust a person, how can you trust a person who the person laying next to them at night that they made vows to can't trust you? So 011 883 0702, the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. One here says, Lebo, cheating is a question of integrity. I genuinely don't trust cheaters. And even if there's no legal argument, I think some consequences are essential. My ex cheated and I was humiliated to a point of our divorce. And I feel like he would have thought twice about his actions if he knew that there would be legal and financial consequences too. That's from Lerato in Centurion. And I mean, can you imagine though, if that is the case, that a person doesn't cheat because there's a law telling them not to, as opposed to just don't cheat like on this person. Another message says, Lebo, very good afternoon to you and your team there in studio. So when I was married, I was in an open marriage with my wife, and the reason who has because at that particular time in my life, I was doing adult movies. What? She was allowed to have someone as well. The rule was not to bring people from outside into our home. Would that be considered as cheating? I'm curious. Firstly, why do I feel like this story is made up? Secondly, I don't consider that cheating if that is your arrangement. I consider if it's something you couldn't really do in front of your partner, and then it's like you're cheating. I think that we all know what cheating is. But an open relationship that is not seen as cheating, because if the person found out, it would not become some big deal. Your voice notes are coming through on 072 702 1702.
Good afternoon, Relebogile. This is Deboho. I absolutely do not agree with the gentleman. I am a seasoned sales consultant. If I was to judge everybody on their personal lifestyle and how they behave, I'll be very broke by now. So no, I don't agree. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Relebogile. What a conundrum, because for every person that says cheating is not accepted, there's someone that's going to say, well, cheating is accepted. So for business deals, I mean, I think it's as old as the old profession. People cheat and you just have to be strong. Let me rather stay anonymous with this one, but yeah, it doesn't make a difference, not in today's time.
Hi, Relebogile. Yeah, I think one will be taking it too far. If he says, I'm not going to do business with so and so because he's cheating or she's cheating, or I will take so and so to court because she cheated on me or I cheated on him. Look, this is life. It has, as much as it is painful, but the person that cheated on you, you were there. What happened, we don't know. Even if you did nothing, absolutely nothing wrong. But I can't wish you bad for the fact that you cheated on me. I can't wish you death upon you because you cheated on me. Yes, for time being, while I'm still paining and it's still aching. But other than that, life goes on. Yeah, that's how it is. I asked myself in the first place, why was I attracted to you? Why was I in a relationship with you? Actually, I must stay away from relationships. I don't think it is for the faint-hearted. So yeah, Makata Makulu on his way.
Tabela, I'll say Relebogile. Yes, cheating is horrible. It's bad. There are, however, certain circumstances when it's unavoidable. And please remember, I said it's bad, it's horrible. But it's actually quite a conversation for another day that we would appreciate if we could have some sort of masterclass or discussion thereon. I've been in that situation, but I'm not qualified because there's not enough time. Really, yes.
Towards the end of the message, of the voice note, he was just saying he's been in that situation. He's asking for us to host a masterclass. I am trying to imagine a scenario where cheating is unavoidable, as that voice note had shared. And for the person who also said on the voice note that they're in sales, if they judged a person on their personal lives, like there would be no business, no money. But we're not saying judge on personal lives. We're speaking specifically about betraying a commitment. So we're being very specific about what we're speaking about. And for some, yes, cheating might be seen as unethical, but they don't think it is that deep. Whereas for others, cheating is that deep. It is that deep. Some of you are in businesses where trust is everything. Some of you live pasta. Why would cheating not have professional consequences? If you are a married pastor, male or female, and you cheat on your spouse, but kadi weekend you're busy officiating marriages, should that not have a bearing on your professional life? Do we not think then, if we say it's not that deep, okay, tell me the professions where you think it should have an effect. Maybe you work at a call center, you cheating on your spouse. I don't think it necessarily has to have any consequences on the job that you have. But there are jobs where I'm like, excuse me, sir, or excuse you, ma'am, can you take a break from your job? Because what in the wow? Hey, we go to the line. Sammy in Centurion. Hi, Sammy.
Good day, Relebogile. I also say that cheating shouldn't affect people's professional lives, because you'll find situations where people will tell you that I was cheating because the person was emotionally and physically neglecting me or whatsoever. And like, I think it should only have any form of consequences if it affects the quality of your job or the quality of your business dealings. Then that's when that we should say, okay, fine, maybe this person should be people should distance themselves against them, the companies and so on. But if it's got nothing, absolutely nothing to do with you, to do with the type of job that you do, say like maybe your business dealings and the quality of your job at work, then let it be. Just, like people live their lives, and if they cheat, sure, they'll suffer in divorce courts and whatsoever. But when it comes to professional lives, just we should just let it go. And also for criminalizing this whole thing, we're gonna end up in a situation where I don't know, man. We're gonna end up in a situations where like we can't deal with the consequences of criminalizing this whole thing. So if it doesn't affect your job, then let it be. Just let it go.
So maybe the legal consequences part. I was referring not to criminalizing, but that maybe you are able to go and sue someone like your husband or whatever, which is still a gray, murky area. So I think it would be completely unrealistic for people to go to jail for adultery, especially in South Africa.
In USA, for example, you can sue the person who was cheating. Like if your spouse or your husband or your wife was cheating on you, then I don't know if the law still applies in that country. Maybe it should be done that way.
Oh, wait, why are you suing the Nyazi and not the person who made the commitment?
Because they're gonna suffer in a divorce court anyway.
No, not necessarily. Remember, I could sue you and want for there to be financial consequences because due to you cheating on me, I didn't go to work for 3 months. Now I've lost my job because I'm depressed. Now I'm suing you. You must pay. They are direct financial consequences. So I'm taking you to court as a result of you cheating.
Yes. The law that I've read about, I don't know whether it applies to the spouses as well. But I know for the mistresses, and I don't know what they call a male mistress, but the one that who was cheating on you. The one who was cheating, the one who was like Nyati, you can sue the Nyati.
The side.
I don't know about the spouse.
Yes, the only reason I don't support suing the side is because they might not have known that you were married.
Sometimes they know and they do it anyway.
Yes. Sometimes they do know, but at the end of the day, the person who made a commitment to me is you. Not Margaret.
Yes,
Not Margaret.
I think also, I think when it comes to suing them, sure you can. I mean, as you mentioned, like maybe you were depressed and you couldn't go to work for 3 months whatsoever. I support the suing part, but for the professional life, I think we should just let it go.
Okay. I hear you, Semi in Centurion. Thank you so much. More of your voice notes are coming through on 072 702 on 702.
Ms. Mabotja, good afternoon. It's Vainant here. The previous caller said cheating is as old as the oldest profession. Now, I don't know which profession he's referring to. Because according to me, the oldest profession is traffic cops. The Bible speaks about them. He said evil spirits will hide behind bushes and branches. That's why you don't see a traffic cop easily in the open. They're always hiding. Have a nice day.
Venant. Venant, you've made my day. The oldest profession is traffic cops. I need to make that my ringtone officially. I want that audio to be my ringtone.
Really? Your callers today, and it's mostly men excusing cheating. And then the guy says, when it's unavoidable. When does it get unavoidable? Like, unavoidable. I like the guy that said, you just have to be strong. It happens. You just have to be strong. Yeah. I'm on the fence on this one. Because it's terrible until it happens to you, then you'll know it can be avoided. But
guys, you know it's real when a person says, hey, yeah, no, yo. I also need to know under what circumstances is cheating, infidelity, adultery unavoidable. Please explain to me, when is it unavoidable? We continue after the news. It's 1:30 time for your latest in Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. Good afternoon. 2 more people, including a traditional leader, have been arrested for the assassination of a former KwaZulu-Natal DA councillor, Nhlalayenza Ndlovu. Now, Ndlovu was shot dead at his home in Howick in December last year while serving as the DA's chief whip in the Umgeni municipality. Police say a 56-year-old traditional leader and a 26-year-old inmate who allegedly coordinated the hit from Pietermaritzburg prison have been taken into custody. An investigation into the deaths of 3 psychiatric patients in the Northern Cape has pointed to hypothermia and poor hospital conditions as the likely cause. The Ombudsman revealed that power outages caused by cable theft left patients exposed to extreme cold, leading to fatal medical complications. An investigation was initiated following a complaint lodged by Health Minister Aaron Motsoaledi against the Northern Cape Mental Hospital in October last year. And the city of Ekurhuleni suspended Chief Information Officer Moloko Monyapao is threatening legal action against Mayor Dr. Xhakaza. This over what he believes are defamatory statements made against him. Monyapao alleges that Xhakaza inadvertently implicated him in the murder of slain senior municipal auditor Mpho Mafole. Earlier this month, Xhakaza disclosed that Mafole was investigating a significant 2 billion rand revenue shortfall at the time of his murder. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 2, as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
On the N3 South, there is a crash in the right lane at Marlborough Road, and in Selby, there's still that earlier crash on Main Reef and Press Avenue, so you can still expect delays heading towards Riverlea. On the N1 North, there is a stationary vehicle in the left lane. It's before the Flying Saucer interchange, and on the M1 North, the traffic slowing down approaching Grayston Drive, and that's due to roadworks. If you're on the N12 East, be on the lookout for a stationary vehicle that's in the left lane at Atlas Road. And in Tshwane, traffic lights are out in Groenkloof at Christina de Wit Road and Eufeus Road, and in Centurion at Roy Hayes Kraal and Eitzig Road. More Eyewitness News traffic at 2 p.m.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
South Africa has porous borders and has therefore become a smuggler's paradise.
Ports of entry pose a very serious risk because that is where these syndicates and others use to traffic people in. We will be establishing a task team for the Cape Town airport and also launching a guideline, a manual to assist and guide those working in this field.
Andres Nel.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
To every 702 lander who laced up, showed up and walked the talk with us this past Sunday, thank you. The 702 family loved every moment, walking, talking and connecting with you on the route. You made the 2025 702 Walk the Talk one for the books, and we can't wait to do it all again with you next year. Here's to you 702 landers, and here's to the 2025 702 Walk the Talk, hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane.
Whenever you hear deep in the heart and art of jazz, think Sia Makuzeni with the big band, Jasmine Horn, Alun Wad, The Baylor Project, Jose James sings Badu, Umu Sangare, Esperanza Spalding, Michelle Dugiocello, Elaine, Tezo, Munei, Mondli Ngobo, and many other spectacular icons. Think Standard Bank Joy of Jazz Festival, 4 stages at the Sandton Convention Center, 26th, 27th and 28th September, and take me there. Book via Ticketmaster.
Food Lovers Market is bringing you unbeatable deals this winter carnival. Buy delicious beef oxtail at just $99.99 per kilo. 2 400-gram packs of Food Lovers ground beef for $79.99. Save on 16-piece chicken brie packs at $49.99 per kilo. And enjoy chicken fillets at only $69.99 per kilo. Valid until 3 August. Only at Food Lovers Market. Winter Carnival now on.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
Mpumi Zikalala is the CEO at Kumba Iron Ore. Mpumi, your revenue was down by 4%, while realized prices were down by 6%. In other words, you've lost less revenue than the platinum price declined.
We certainly saw some challenges, so softness in the markets overall. From a China perspective, certainly softening of the property sector. And in line with that, we saw more steel exports coming out of China and going into other areas.
The Money Show
on 702. 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Crutches is brought to you by ABSA CIB, honored as the best bank for ESG in Africa and South Africa by Euro Money Awards for Excellence 2025. Your story matters. ABSA is a registered FSP.
WhatsApp Relebogile on 072 702 1702.
24 minutes to 2 o'clock. We're talking about cheating, infidelity, adultery. Should there be legal consequences and professional consequences if you do so? But of course, that means you have to be caught, right? So we've seen it happen. Former President, US President Bill Clinton. We've seen it happen with the CEOs caught at the Coldplay concert. Apparently that CEO is trying to sue Coldplay. And Doda, if you watch that video again, you will hear Chris Martin, after they did the video cam of the couple holding, then they did that duck, which is now gone viral. Everybody's doing. I saw one where the duck is on LinkedIn, where you have the open to work on your thing, but you still have a job. So people are ducking that their bosses caught them cheating, looking for other jobs. That thing's gone viral. But what Chris Martin says after they duck, he's like, oh, either they're really shy or they're having an affair. But I doubt there are grounds for any kind of lawsuit there, especially for Coldplay. 011-883-0702 and the WhatsApp line 072-702-1702. We go to Brian in Randburg. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Relebogile.
Yes.
Look, I feel like cheating on a partner shows flaws in a relationship and not necessarily flaws in financial integrity or business judgment, right? For example, even that guy that you're talking about, that Broer from the Coldplay concert, if you check when he took over as CEO of that company and before him, it actually started running in more countries. I was reading about it 2 weeks back, last week, and it spread out. There was growth in the company. Now you and Coldplay are making a company lose a good CEO because he cheats sometimes, right? And remember,
I love how you say you and Coldplay.
and Coldplay. and another thing, as you've said, that here in South Africa we have no fault divorces, right?
Yeah.
And in business there is no fault. If I breach a contract, there is a consequence for that. So which means that I won't take my ethics when it comes to cheating into that thing. And even that businessman who says, Oriana, they will never do business with people who cheat. There is no business that can run if it says no to cheaters. Even him, if a cheater comes with a 50 million rand contract when his house is getting repossessed, he will do business with that cheater. No one can do business without cheaters, in the same way that no one can do business without taking money from people wearing red shirts or anything. Why are we making it so holistic to a person?
Can I ask a question, Brian? Because you're touching on something where you said, the issues are pretty much separate and it cannot speak to your, I think one of the examples was around like the ability of a person to make a business money, for example, right? But I would like to pose this to you. What character traits do you think cheating can be reflective of? Because yes, there are circumstances, many circumstances, as you mentioned, where it's reflective of the relationship and not necessarily the person. But I do think that cheating can be a reflection of certain things. Firstly, maybe you're sexually ill-disciplined. You lack discipline. Number one. Number two, maybe you're just hella careless. That now not only are you cheating, you're getting caught. That CEO was careless. You should have done it behind. You understand what I'm saying? Number three, you're not a person of your word. You're not a person of your word. Even if our relationship is going through a rough patch, not only are you not a person of your word, you're doing it so kankani, like what's the English? You're doing it so brazenly. So for me, I get what you're saying, but on the other hand, I'm also like, what do certain things say about your character? Cool, be a human being, cheat, but like now you're doing it for all, like, what guys, you're being messy about it. Did you even consider if you were caught, what that would do to the reputation of the business you have worked so hard to turn around?
Relebogile, I once heard someone say that people who don't flush the toilet, it shows that they don't know how to think for other people, right?
Yes.
And if you take something like that, I have an aunt and an uncle, actually, who don't flush. Like when I go to their houses, they've just not flushed, right? And it always used to make me mad.
Yeah.
Until I realized that at the point where they first had a flushing toilet, it was when they were in the around 35, 36, because they grew up in the villages and they moved to Pretoria. That was the first time they had a flushing toilet. So imagine now if I use that one thing and I say, malome le auntie a se batho ba o ka bereka le bona cause aba naganele batho over this one thing. I think, yes, cheating shows.
Wait, Brian, wait. I can you're using the scenario of imagine if now we are judging against this, not seeing the background. Ne? But to me, all you demonstrated were, and no offense to your aunt and uncle, people refusing to change. It means that even when your circumstances grow and improve, when are you not ready to grow and change? I'm not seeing it, because I get what you're saying is that we can justify absolutely everything that is flawed about us as human beings. But again, it comes back to the fact that we make choices as individuals that are going to reflect on us as people. And when we show up as work, we show up as people. So now you as my CEO need to go and make a deal. But everybody, let's say I'm keeping you reinstated. Now everybody's talking about the fact that no Dakako Coldplay or Morsach, taking your sheet behavior, bed sheet behavior to the streets. Brian, Brian.
But the point of their business contacts did not find out about the cheating at the Coldplay context. In the same way that the people in the company, we can see cheating in the workplace, guys. We can see what it looks like. So it did not start there. I can bet you that there are people who did business with that company throughout its growth, knowing about this cheating.
But the difference was they were tidy about it. So maybe then it's not the part that you're cheating. It's the fact that you're morsach and you're messy. Why are you not cheating quietly in peace? Now you want everybody to know you're a cheater.
Also, we must do business with good cheaters.
Yeah. If you're a good cheater, I won't know you're cheating. That's it. If you're a good cheater, I will never know you're a cheater. But thank you so much, Brian. Julie from Johannesburg, go ahead.
Yeah, it's funny. I agree with Brian, and I agree with what you've just said. I just called in to say you'll never know if someone's cheating, and you certainly can't put a rule in place and say my business is not going to deal with someone who's a cheater. As you say, keep it clean and don't advertise it. But I can guarantee that most people we all deal with. It's a terrible thing to say, but I think a lot of people cheat. Sorry.
And a lot of people see it at their conferences. Those of you in corporate,
100%.
you know what you're doing. The conferences in Dubai, we know.
But the thing is, you can't say, right, let's not deal with cheaters. Sorry. We all know that. We all know that it will cheat. Sorry. And I'm not even being negative. I mean, tongue in cheek. And if you know men, you know men. I mean, let's face it.
Oh, my gosh. So for you, legal consequences or no legal consequences?
Well, no, definitely. I think that in Europe, there are a lot of countries that there are consequences to cheating with colleagues in the workplace. Some of them even have imposed instant dismissal. So those guys are just, excuse my French, too shit scared to cheat. You know, if they found out in the workplace that anything's going on between colleagues and they have partners already or married, I mean, it is instant dismissal. That's 100% in some republics. I know for a fact it happens in Munich because my daughter works there. So she's quite relaxed about her husband never cheating on her in the workplace.
So let's see, Julie, if we put that into place, that all companies, including government, that you got fired immediately if you're caught cheating, would we not solve the unemployment and the infidelity crisis in South Africa? Just saying. Thanks, Julie. You gave us a tip.
Different energy every week. Okay, have a good one.
Julie in Johannesburg, thank you for your call. Your voice notes on 072-702-1702.
Hi, Mama Relebogile. Can you explain the cheating king afterwards? What's the cheating? Can we understand it? Because remember one thing, most of them, they said, one never cheat. I can't understand what's the cheating is meaning what.
Every time a man specifically says, but what is cheating? How was the king cheating? We know you. You know yourself and you know what you are doing. Don't get into semantics to try and dismiss Bostode.
Ai Relebogile Sipo ai le re fella pelo man la re kitimisa Relebogile la re kitimisa re ska re fella pelo. Thank you.
Hi, Relebogile. I think the only time that your professional life should have an impact on your personal life, or vice versa, actually, is if you have done reputational damage to the company. In that case, yes, there should be professional repercussions and consequences. Otherwise, please get out of my business.
Like for me, I wonder, I don't want to lie. What is it that causes us? I'm a man, I'm a young man. What is it that causes us as men to just have this weakness? Like, you could touch me in the most subtlest of ways, the most subtlest, and it wasn't even intentional. You weren't even trying to arouse me, but now that's where I am mentally, and I'm ready to risk it all. I'm ready to risk it all. I think building that level of self-discipline where you can tell yourself that my thoughts are not my truth, my truth is that I love my woman, and this moment is not gonna be worth it. I respect any man who has gotten to that point in their mindset, because I wanna find out, how do other men do it? Who can do it?
Hi, Relebogile. So I definitely think that there should be some sort of consequences if somebody is cheating or being unfaithful. At the end of the day, when you join a new company, you go into a partnership with them, and hence why you sign a contract saying, this is what we're giving you and this is what we're expecting in return. And for me, when you get married, it's a partnership, and there's certain things that you do promise, and if you can't stick to it, then I think there should be some consequences, without a shadow of a doubt.
It's a tough one, and I'm sure this conversation will continue for years and years. So on the WhatsApp line, one person says, our company fires cheaters, as in immediately. A South African company, they're not saying which one. Another one says, I think as men, we tend to confuse kindness with flirting. Therefore, many of us result to courting, thinking, Oyangifuna, as in you want me. Guys, I just refer to it and I'm making it very blanket. You are ill-disciplined. You are ill-disciplined. Full stop. You are ill-disciplined. I think what the previous caller, Brian, wanted to say is that cheating in one area of life does not necessarily mean one is a cheater in other areas. And this goes for most bad behavior. People can be bad in one area of their life and yet be excellent in another. They don't have to be linked. That is from Jay in Santon. And many more of your messages. But here's another voice note.
Hi, Relebogile. Very interesting topic. It's Matsileng here. So my contribution is, if your partner is cheating on you, please do not divorce your partner, because there is so much more to a relationship than dealing with an extra person. So because cheating has got nothing to do with you, and actually your partner needs you more when they cheat. I know you're going to fight me, but your partner needs you more, and maybe you also need them. By them cheating on you, there is so much that you can unravel together as a couple, but do not leave your partner because they have cheated on you. And believe me, it's the truth. Don't fight.
Ma'am, I thought we needed a masterclass to bring a psychologist. Now I realize we need someone to come perform an exorcism. Every professional, we need them all. Even NASA must come. We need Dr. Chris Smith to explain what you just said. What? Pashida. Hi.
Beyond politics.
Sidi, I'm not going anywhere.
It's honest conversations with politicians and newsmakers on Politricking with Sidi Midyear on EWN. It gets heavy.
Even in losing the election in Polokwane, people regret Zuma. They don't regret not backing Mbeki.
Me, I don't regret nothing, because he gave people a sword to stab him with.
Yeah.
It gets personal.
There's a tendency to paint the entire GNU with the whims and the feelings of the DA at any particular moment. It is not a fact.
It gets to their truth.
If you check the videos, it started coming like organically on the ground. Random leaders of the FF Children's Command saying, no man, this Floyd must go away.
You call him VBS Floyd, don't you?
Yeah, it's VBS Floyd.
Why is Julius Malema not VBS Malema?
The president was cleared by parliament, guys.
Hold on. You're defending even Floyd Shivambuni is in the EFF from VBS. Suddenly it's VBS Floyd.
No, I never defended.
Catch a new episode every Wednesday on PrimeMediaPlus.com. Politricking with Sidi Midyear on EWN.
On record, Siri.
In touch, in tune, and independent.
At the heart of global conversations shaping our future, Africa's voice is more important than ever. As proud lead sponsor of the B20, the Standard Bank Group is honored to showcase the continent's growth, partnerships, and potential on the world stage. Because driving Africa's growth isn't just our ambition, it's our purpose. Tune in every Monday from 3 p.m. for the Standard Bank B20 In Brief for key insights and updates around the B20. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
The Johannesburg Philharmonic Orchestra's early spring season features a stellar lineup of international and local talent. Enjoy favorites by Mozart, Beethoven, and Tchaikovsky. Concerts run at the Linda Auditorium on Thursday evenings from 7 to 28 August. Book at Quicket. Visit jpo.co.za for more info.
702 Finance Feature.
7 minutes to 2 o'clock, and we jump into our finance feature, talking mid-year financial fitness check with Stian de Wit, Head of Financial Planning at advisory firm NMG Benefits. And we take your calls on 011 883 0702 in the WhatsApp line 072 7021 702. Stian, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon, Relebogile.
Stian, what should we start by looking at? Because it is a good time of the year to kind of say, all right, we've just passed the halfway mark. We are at the end of July. What are we looking for when we say financial fitness check?
That's a really, really good question to ask. One thing to remember is the fact that you're halfway through the year doesn't mean you have to continue on the same trajectory you were on from the beginning. So you can stop almost like in a sports game, halfway. We've seen many sports games, be won in the latter half of the year. So I think that's the first thing to say is there's hope, and don't just go and say, okay, I must continue the way I've continued the last 6 months and continue that way. There is a way to just say, let's just check and do some fitness assessments and see where we'll be at.
Do you find that you have people that, because they're in a bad place financially, they kind of give up and just keep going on that downward spiral, for you to be saying there's hope and we need to be reminded that there's hope?
Absolutely. We see that a lot of times people just are so subjective in their own situation. The moment you have someone that sits with you in that process and just give you a bit of a bird's eye view, you actually get an objective view, and hope is restored.
Okay, so where do we start? Is it starting with printing statements? Where would you say one must begin in the most simple, easy, basic way?
First of all, I think it's very important is go and print your statements. Go and have a look and analyze your expenses. Literally today we sat with a couple, and after analyzing the expenses, they didn't realize there were a lot of excessive medical bills, excessive debit orders going off their account that they even realized they had. So a lot of times we just have to go and analyze those statements and see where are those excessive expenses that we completely forgot to cancel this debit order, or you might have double insurance on something, or you might spend more on something because you swipe your card the whole time. And now when you go and have a look at it, you are able to analyze and say, oh my goodness, we sat with a couple the other day, they were spending 5,500 Rand a month on biltong.
What?
And
5,500 Rand a month on biltong.
Yes.
Please, can I have these problems?
Wow. And once they analyzed it and they realized, oh my goodness, it's like you going for a cholesterol checkup and you realize there's a problem. If you don't go and check it, you might never end up realizing there's a problem.
Sure. Okay. So you start with the statements. You look at where money is going. Now, let's assume that the person does not have a consistent income. Is it a good idea for them to also sort of look at what the average income has been for the past 7 months in order for them to sort of use that as an indicator for what the next few months could look like?
That is a good way of looking at it. But the problem is if the income is very sporadic and 1 month it's not averaging out, but you have what we call a feast and famine mentality, and some months it's great, other months it's really, really bad. You almost have to go and say, what are my, what we call obligations, needs and wants? So how do I make sure that all my obligations, those like my rent, it might be a bond, it might be a car repayment, it might be kids' school fees or something like that, all those expenses are covered. And then when you have your bad months, one of the things that's very important is make sure you have an emergency fund or a float somewhere with what we call a crisis cushion, that especially self-employed, especially commission earners, that they are able to sustain themselves in those months when you have a bad month. And good examples are typical months like February, April, where there are short months with a lot of public holidays, and even December. Now is the time, and interesting, especially commission earners, you will notice the trends. Normally September starting off, but October, November are really, really good months. So you need to get yourself in a position where you start building up that cushion for December, because a lot of people say, sure, December is really, really long, but going into January, they spend a lot of their money. The January expenses already being spent in December. So when January comes along, they don't have enough money for the end of January. So you need to start planning for that already now.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that. It's actually such a good time for one to think about where people don't get bonuses, and even those who do, it's not guaranteed. You want to sort of build yourself a bit of a 13th check for you to be cushioned for January.
Mm. And interesting, there are companies that allow you to go to them, especially commission earners, where you can go to your HR or your payroll team and say, please, can you hold back some of my income so that I can actually have it in December? Because let's be honest, most people that are commission earners love risk, but they are not always, but traditionally very bad at budgeting. And they get to a place where they spend a lot, and the next month they have nothing, and then they have to go and lend money to get around. But if you can have some kind of arrangement, build some self-discipline where that's almost handed over to your payroll team and you don't have to worry about that, then it's another way, a practical way in which you can sustain yourself through those really tough months.
Sian, I'm going to have to leave it there because we have to go through to the news, but I think we definitely need another catch-up just to touch on if you are realizing that actually you're not in a good place, things are going downhill, what is it you should be doing about that? So I hope you're able to join us for another finance feature in the next hour of the show, Masterclass on Trauma at 2 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Munki Zikoko. 2 more people, including a traditional leader, have been arrested for the assassination of former KwaZulu-Natal DA councillor Nhlalayenza Ndlovu. Ndlovu was shot dead at his home in Howick in December last year while serving as the DA's chief whip in the Umgeni municipality. Police say a 56-year-old traditional leader and a 26-year-old inmate who allegedly coordinated the hit in the Pietermaritzburg prison have been taken into custody. They're expected to appear in the Howick Magistrates Court on Thursday, joining 2 other suspects already charged in the case. National Police spokesperson Atlenda Mate.
The pair will appear before the Howick Magistrate Court on Thursday, the 31st of July. They will join the 2 suspects who were previously arrested and charged for the murder. They will face charges of conspiracy to commit murder and possession of unlicensed firearms and ammunition.
An investigation into the deaths of 3 psychiatric patients in the Northern Cape has pointed to hypothermia and poor hospital conditions as likely causes. Now, the Ombudsman revealed that power outages caused by cable theft left patients exposed to extreme cold, leading to fatal medical complications. An investigation was initiated following a complaint lodged by Health Minister Aaron Motsoaledi against the Northern Cape Mental Hospital in October last year. 3 patients were transferred from the mental hospital to the Robert Mangaliso Sobukwe Hospital in critical conditions when the hospital was experiencing infrastructure complications. Thandoluhle Ngobo reports.
Health Ombud Professor Taule Mokoena says during the time the patients were being treated, the Northern Cape Mental Hospital was experiencing trouble with electricity supply attributed to cable theft and vandalism. Mokoena says as a result, some of the patients developed critical medical conditions.
It is notable that these patients, starting with Mr. Lowe, who developed a stroke, which may be attributable to extreme hypothermia, and then Dimbaza, who died of hypothermia, Mohoto, who died of multilobar pneumonia, and lastly, DeBrain, who also suffered hypothermia.
He added that the patients suffered devastating consequences as a result.
In other words, during this time when there was no electricity, patients were freezing to death, literally.
The hospital has also been investigated for alleged inadequate medical care. Thandoluhle Ngobo, Eyewitness News.
Let's turn to this now. The city of Ekurhuleni suspended Chief Information Officer Moloko Monyepao is threatening legal action against Mayor Dr. Xhakaza over what he believes are defamatory statements made against him. Monyepao alleges that Xhakaza had unwittingly implicated him in the murder of slain senior municipal auditor Mpho Mafole. Earlier this month, Xhakaza disclosed that Mafole was investigating a significant 2 billion rand revenue shortfall at the time of his murder. Monyepao was suspended in April on allegations of negligence for failing to take the necessary steps to prevent the revenue loss. Alpha Ramashwana has more.
Ekurhuleni Mayor Dr. Xhakaza previously questioned why the city's auditor Mpho Mafole was killed shortly after submitting a report that implicated suspended officials in the disappearance of 2 billion rand.
It's one thing you prepare a charge sheet for the suspended official, you deliver it, and then something happens. I mean, if you are involved in this type of work and you just get shot, can't be just a random thing.
The city's suspended Chief Information Officer Moloko Monyepao claims that Xhakaza's comments have indirectly associated him with the killing of the auditor. Monyepao has since issued a letter of demand to Xhakaza calling for a retraction of the statement. He has warned that failure to do so will result in a defamation lawsuit. He insists that the mayor's remarks have tarnished his reputation and firmly denies any involvement in Mafole's murder. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
Striking pilots have written an open letter sharing their frustration over the working conditions at low-cost airline FlySafair. The airline and trade union Solidarity have been in discussions under the supervision of the CCMA since last week. Affiliated pilots are demanding a more than 10% salary increase, while the employer is offering around half that amount. In the open letter published yesterday, the pilots say their strike is not about greed, but rather dignity, fairness, and being heard. Aviation expert Puteho Mojapili.
Ideally, what they are basically saying here is really to show the public what the situation looks like. And I think part of the things that they are talking about here, they are really crying for family and social life, which is not existing at this company.
And US President Donald Trump says he probably won't attend the G20 summit in South Africa. He rehashed debunked claims of white citizens being persecuted and killed in the country. Trump took aim at South Africa early in his second term, fixating on claims elevated by his then ally Elon Musk, who was born in the country of persecution of white citizens. When asked aboard Air Force One if he planned to attend the leaders' summit in November, Trump had this to say.
I don't think so, no. I think maybe I'll send somebody else because I've had a lot of problems with South Africa and they have some very bad policies. Very, very bad policies, like policies where people are being killed. A lot of people are being killed. So I think I probably won't.
Gold is trading at $3,325.91 an ounce. The rand is at 17.87 to the dollar, 23.88 to the pound, 20.59 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $71.91 a barrel.
On the N1 South, there's a crash before Winnie Mandela Drive. The right lane is closed. Expect slow-moving traffic. And on the N3 South, there's a crash in the right lane at Marlborough Road. And if you are traveling on the N12 West, there's a stationary vehicle in the left lane after Tom Jones. And on the N12 East, there's also a stationary vehicle in the left lane after Edenvale Road.
A fine day for Gauteng today. Temperatures peaking at highs of between 18 and 20 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: 2 more people, including a traditional leader, have been arrested for the assassination of former KwaZulu-Natal DA councillor Nhlalayenza Ndlovu.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
Your voice.
Your station, 702.
We are listening to you. You're with Relebogile Mabotja.
Live, streaming countrywide
On the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Eight minutes after 2 o'clock, the second and final hour of 702 afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja. Thank you so much for all of your messages. I promise you, we will have a master class on, what the listener said. We'll figure out what we need to do and call it in regards to the conversation around cheating that we're having. And interestingly enough, I heard Dineo Ranaka speaking in something, I can't recall what, but she was expressing how downplayed cheating is by society because it happens so often, but it causes trauma. And trauma is what we're going to be talking about in our masterclass for today. So get prepared. We're not only going to be going to school, we're going to be addressing some highly sensitive issues in this conversation. Looking forward to chatting to all of you. 011 883 0702, SMS us 31702, tweet at Relebogile M at Radio 702 using the hashtag 702 afternoons, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
702
Masterclass.
In our masterclass for today, we are talking about trauma, and I'm pretty sure this is going to need more than one part because trauma is such a vast word that covers so many different things and has so many aspects to it. And we are delighted to be joined by Dr. Kitumetse Mashero for this conversation. Get in touch with us, 011 883 0702 in the WhatsApp line, 072 702 1702. Doctor, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me. Good afternoon to the listeners.
Doctor, let's start with the very big word that is trauma, and from a medical perspective, because I understand that what we describe in colloquial talk online and in person might not be viewed as what is seen in the medical space as trauma. And please include that trauma can also be referred to as, what head injuries, for example, before we get into the part of trauma in relation to psychology.
So trauma is something that a human being experiences that is not the norm, and it causes intense physical or emotional reaction. Right? Rightfully, as you're saying, trauma can be physical and it can also be emotional or psychological. So it's intense and it's mental injury when it's speaking about psychological trauma or emotional trauma. And it's not necessarily what people deem something that should be embarrassing. And it's something that can be overcome, but it's not always easy. It requires intentionality. And the thing about trauma is that it manifests differently in different people, and it's because of different reasons. That's, why it manifests differently in different people. But there is the underlying common denominator, which is that mental injury that requires intervention.
So I want to get clarity because we didn't specify that trauma is necessarily something that is classified as bad. You said intense, right? So could that mean that something great could happen to you that is so intense that it could cause trauma of any kind? Because in my mind, I almost see it as something that is life-altering.
Definitely. And what is life-altering to you is not necessarily life-altering to me. So it's a subjective experience of something that can lead to certain consequences, and it will manifest differently in different people. For example, some people will withdraw, and some people will then become the life of the party, just as an example, because of what it is that they're experiencing. And for some, it's an acute episode, meaning something happens, and because of the perception, maybe the personality of that person, and also just where they are in the phase of their life, they develop an acute traumatic response to the circumstances. And in certain instances, if that is not handled, it can become chronic. And the same situation happens to someone else and they don't react that way. So again, it goes back to that fact that certain people are predisposed to mental health issues such as traumatic responses, and some people are less likely to develop because they're not predisposed. And I think the conversation, we really need to understand that just as someone is predisposed to physical illness like your diabetes, cholesterol, and all the cancers and different types of physical illnesses or challenges, then someone else can be predisposed to traumatic responses or mental health challenges.
So let's then maybe help me understand. I know when a person wins the lottery above a certain amount, is particularly with the jackpot, one of the first things that they do is bring in a psychologist. Why would winning a whole lot of money be traumatic, girl? Because I want it.
I always say to people that an incident or stress or trauma will then good stress or bad stress, right? So winning the lottery would trigger your actual character sometimes. So for example, if you are not a psychologically healthy person, meaning that maybe you're a narcissist, for example, underlying, or you've got certain traits that they've been just under the surface. So stress can actually bring to the forefront your actual character, right? Good stress and bad stress, meaning winning the lottery. The next thing when, I win the lottery, the next thing you're calling me, then, I don't even want to take your calls anymore. Right? It just means that subtly below the surface, maybe, I was potentially this person. And also when bad things happen as well, that can trigger this response where my true character comes out. And hence I always say to people who are looking for partners, you need to understand the character traits of the partner that you want, because that will remain when stress comes. And things like church going, rich, tall, dark, and handsome, yellow bone are not character traits. The character traits are the things that come to the fore when there's stress, good and bad stress.
I love how my yellow bone just caught strays there, but but I have to then.
You'll be surprised when I ask people that question. What characters do you want in a partner? Ideally, you'd be surprised how many people say that, and hence I bring it forth.
Baba yellow bone.
Yeah, they say that.
So I have to ask, because we were talking about it earlier on, where the conversation was around cheating and if it should have legal or professional repercussions when a person's caught cheating. Now, I need to ask, why are certain types of betrayal considered trauma? And I think you laid it out very well at the beginning by saying different things are trauma to different people. Hence, it is so imperative that we are sensitive when people share how something has made them feel, because we always measure against ourselves. So let's say a person has dealt with loss their whole lives, and then they meet somebody who's still struggling to get over the loss of their parent from 40 years ago, and they're like, you should be over it by now. Versus another person who maybe stubbing their toe is a bit more traumatic because it reminds them of some other thing or triggers them for some other thing that happened in their lives. But why are certain types of betrayal in particular seen as trauma? Because it's something so common, it's so topical, but I think sometimes it is downplayed.
Definitely, you're correct in saying that we sometimes want to downplay someone's experience. But definitely when an incident happens that is beyond your control, right? Be it someone is cheating or a car accident, what then causes it to become trauma is how you think about the thing that has happened to you. The things that you say to yourself, the self-talk, the questions you have. Because, for example, someone passes away and it's very traumatic for you, and someone then says to you, it was their time, or some people, people often say God wanted an angel, or they lived their life, but you still struggle with that because, there is no logic when it comes to emotional reactions. And I think that's what people sometimes miss, is that when someone is still traumatized or grieving something that happened 40 years ago, I don't think they choose it. And there is no logic, to sort of explain why they're still in that experience. But yes, for them, it's very real. And the mind is like that. So when you go through something, you start thinking, in a certain way about what has happened, the perspective you have about life and the situation, that will lead to certain feelings, right? And people are different again. So when they're thinking and asking themselves, why me? I feel like I'm cursed. This always happens to me. Bad things are happening to me. Or you're just unable to come to terms with that incident. It can lead to anxiety. For some people, it leads to hopelessness, depression. And then we see it in how they behave, right? And, some people will go out and become angry at random people, or internalize their anger towards self, or start drinking and just not be coping. And that develops into that reaction that might require intervention if it persists, right? So initially, the initial reaction, if it's not, attended to or given a space to be processed, that's when it can develop into a chronic trauma response.
Okay,
also,
yes?
Yeah. Sorry, I just also wanted to add that the things of the subconscious. So what happens when those traumas happen? I always give this image that imagine a box of trauma number 1 is sitting there in your subconscious, and it doesn't disappear just because time has passed, right? It just sits and it waits for you to have capacity. And I don't know why it's like that, but it is how it is. And when you do finally open that box, the trauma feels like that 4-year-old. Yeah, if you were traumatized when you were 4, the feelings are as fresh, as raw as the day you were traumatized when you were 4, and yet you are 40. And I think that's the difficulty about, when you attend to traumas, people don't want to go there because it is just as painful as, on the day the trauma happened. And the more you don't attend to it, it becomes, it sort of balloons out, and it becomes your character or your personality. And maybe you are just now angry, and people say unjalo, they are born, they've always been this way. But no one is born angry, right? It's because of the things that happened to you that maybe were not processed, and now you are this person who has a personality of an angry person. But it doesn't imply that you were born that way. It's because of the circumstances of your life, and trauma being one of the big factors that can impact your personality.
I would love for you to repeat something that you said, because I had such a light bulb moment maybe a month and a half ago when I heard a man sharing that trauma is not the thing that happened to you, but it's the story you tell yourself afterwards. And a big part of the story I would tell myself is that I'm not good enough. Now, I thought getting to understand that intellectually and connecting the dots is like I'm sorted, which is not the case. It's a constant work in progress. But what felt empowering for me about the part of realizing that trauma is not the event, but the narrative that builds in your mind, is the fact that actually I can participate in changing the narrative as opposed to wishing the event did not happen.
Definitely. And hence I mentioned that when something happens to us, we start having this thoughts or questions, or start sometimes we visualize this thing happening over and over, replaying in our mind. And the mind is powerful, and I say to people, the mind is like a sponge. It absorbs whatever you dwell on, and that thing becomes the reality. So if in your mind you are constantly replaying that event, or saying to yourself, I'm not good enough, I'm useless, the mind believes you, and you function from a place of feeling useless, right? But also it's powerful in that the minute you change that story and you say, I'm great, it also, absorbs that, and you function from a place of greatness. So we really need to understand that whatever is happening in our mind, we need to be aware of it, right? But it's always subtle and such a habitual thing that people are not aware of their thoughts or the internal conversation, the dialogue they have with themselves, and yet it happens often, right? But what we tend to be aware of is maybe the feelings. So people come to me and they say, I just woke up sad, right? And I always say, you don't just wake up sad. Let's go back.
Something
what were you
triggered.
What were you what were you focusing on? What were you dwelling on? Sadness does not go around the province and choose you, right? There must have been something you said to self, or you were thinking that triggered this thing. So let's now dwell in, and that's where the narrative comes in, to say, now we need to change the things that you say to self. But because we've seen that when you do have this conversation with yourself, it leads to anxiety. Right? So people can say whatever they say about you, but when you internalize that as the truth, and internalize it and say it to yourself, that's where it becomes problematic. And once you change that conversation you have with yourself, it can be so empowering and life-changing.
Okay, I want us to open the lines for all of the listeners. 011-883-0702, the WhatsApp line 0727021702. I know many people don't have an opportunity to engage on certain experiences, so we will take calls, but also I'll continue to unpack what trauma is all about. Sandile in Johannesburg, go ahead.
How are you?
Good, thanks, and you?
I'm good, thank you. Just a fun fact, I'm not sure if you actually remember me. So I had a traumatic experience.
Oh my gosh! From Melville, from 6.
From a particular cocktail bar.
Oh, Sandile! Oh my gosh! Let me not get emotional. Oh my gosh! I've known Sandile for many years. I used to go to 6, a cocktail bar in Marvel, and then much later I'd heard you were in an accident, and I saw that you're doing fantastic after your spinal cord injury.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm trying. But I think what I wanted to mention, particularly from the trauma perspective, is I think it's very important that a lot of people do realize that seeking guidance and seeking counseling post-traumatic incidences can also help sort of reshape your life. And I think it's always important to sort of package whatever small wins that one has post a trauma, because that allows you to sort of move forward. Just to draw from my own experience, I've been very fortunate to sort of finish my first bit of formal education and then pivot into sort of the software engineering industry in aviation. But I was only able to do that because of the support I had, because of the medical services I was afforded. And, every time things feel overwhelming, it's always important, I think, as individuals to remember that, we've been through stuff before. And if you can remember that, it'll allow you to take on the next challenge and give you the confidence to sort of say, I can take on whatever comes on moving forward.
Oh, Sandile, you're also just what you've done with your journey. I watch from afar, and I have the utmost love and respect for you. And thank you so much for sharing that. Doctor, your response to Sandile sharing his experience?
Trauma is not our fault, eh? And what he's saying is literally an example of that. It's not our fault, but the healing is our responsibility. You can, no matter how unfair it was, right? It's not your fault. You didn't deserve it, but the healing the onus is on you to ensure that you heal, which sometimes sucks because, it was not fair. It was painful. You didn't deserve it. But what his story is telling of how when you choose, or you've got the support, to choose to heal in spite of what happened to you, that you don't necessarily have to be defined by what happened to you, because we are not what happened to us, but we are given the opportunity to grow. And it's not always easy, though. I always say to people, it takes courage to come see someone like me and really process trauma and choose to thrive in spite of it.
What is the biggest mistake or error, if I'm going to call it that for the purposes of this conversation, that we make when we have had a traumatic experience? And I say that in the sense that there are things that are natural human responses, but are actually counterproductive to the healing process. Almost like, for example, if you're in a car accident, you're actually safer if your body's not tensed up. So the person sleeping is going to have less injuries than the one who's tensed up. Obviously, those are things you can't necessarily control, but there are things that happen after trauma that you see and observe human beings doing that you're like, this actually seems like you should be doing this, but it's counterproductive to the long-term healing journey.
I'm of view that the human mind sometimes also protects the person who has experienced the trauma, right? In that we tend to forget certain aspects of that trauma. And then what we then tend to do is we just repress it further when it starts coming as reminders or as triggers, or as, the conversation around it sort of brings this fragments of memory of it, and then we tend to then repress it further. So that defense mechanism we often have of repression, suppression, avoidance, just not going there, not talking about it, even when there's glimmers of that incident coming, maybe in dreams or as flashbacks, or just when people talk about it, you get little hints of what happened there, but you choosing not to go there can actually cause more harm than good, right? In that, what you don't heal, what you don't process, what you don't attend to, will come out some way or another. You will project it some way or another, whether you like it or not. I always say to people, things of the subconscious mind don't have manners. They don't wait for you to be in a good space for them to come out. They just pop out, right? Maybe someone of a certain stature who uses a certain perfume traumatized you and you don't want to go there. Then you meet a random person there in the mall who looks and maybe smells like the same person, has the same voice and demeanor, and you start having a reaction towards this person, right? It can be an aggressive one, or you can just have so much fear, not knowing where it comes from, right? Or then start saying things like, oh, this person's aura, but it has nothing to do with this person's aura. What's being triggered is that trauma around this person that was never attended to, and it's just popping out, wanting your attention. So it's very important to be self-aware so that we can understand that what we don't sit with will come out somewhere. You will bleed on people who did not hurt you, for example. And that saying that goes, hurt people, hurt other people. And I add to that, even if they were unfairly hurt, because we tend to think that if you're unfairly hurt, that automatically you would not necessarily hurt others because of your pain, right? But it doesn't happen that way. You do tend to, hurt other people, those who want to love you, sometimes unintentionally, and at times you hurt yourself because of that pain. So
we
pain
need
that's unprocessed.
Yes, we just need to go to the news, Doctor. When we come back, we're going to continue the conversation. And I also want to touch on people who have trauma that is blocked out, that they may not even be aware is there. It's just after 2:30. Time for latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. Good afternoon. Lawyers for Umkhonto weSizwe Party leader Jacob Zuma say President Cyril Ramaphosa is abusing the Constitution to shield Police Minister Senzo Mchunu. Now, the Constitutional Court is hearing Zuma's challenge to Ramaphosa's decision to place Police Minister Senzo Mchunu on special leave and to appoint Feroz Kacharia as acting minister. Zuma's legal team, led by Advocate Dali Mpofu, wants the decision overturned and the appointment declared invalid. They're also asking the court to scrap a new Judicial Commission of Inquiry. An investigation into the deaths of 3 psychiatric patients in the Northern Cape has pointed to hypothermia and poor hospital conditions as likely causes. The Ombud revealed that power outages caused by cable theft left patients exposed to extreme cold, leading to fatal medical complications. An investigation was initiated following a complaint lodged by Health Minister Aaron Motsoaledi against the Northern Cape Mental Hospital in October last year. And pilots represented by Union Solidarity are calling for a formally revised written schedule from low-cost carrier FlySafair. The airline and union returned to the CCMA today to continue talks around working conditions, salaries and flight rosters. This as the pilot strike enters its second week, disrupting flight operations nationwide. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 3, or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
On the N1 North, there's a crash after a caller drive, so you can expect delays. And if you're traveling on the N1 South, there's also a crash before Winnie Mandela Drive. The right lane's closed, so you can expect some slow-moving traffic. And on the N3 South, there's also a crash in the right lane at Marlborough Road. And there's still that stationary vehicle. If you're on the N12 West, it's in the left lane after Tom Jones. Traffic lights are out in Alexandra at Far East Bank at Marlborough Drive and the N3 North and London, and in North Riding at CR Swart and Malibongwe Drive and the N1 and Malibongwe Drive. And in Tshwane, traffic lights out at the R55 and Thatchfield Road, and in Groenkloof at Christina de Witt Road and Eufees Road. More Eyewitness News traffic at 3.
There's more EWN on air, online and on the EWN app.
Don't miss the remarkable, versatile and world-renowned Buscade Soweto String Ensemble at its annual performance featuring a wide range of popular music favorites from classical to amapiano. These young musicians will be joined by South Africa's charismatic divas, Bongile Mngoma, singing jazz, blues and rock songs. The concert takes place at the Linda Auditorium on Sunday, the 3rd of August at 3 p.m. Book now at Quicket.
What is Overtrail? Is it off the beaten path, over the edge of comfort, or the thrill of the road less taken? It's over every bridge, every obstacle, every trail, and over to that view that takes your breath away. Overtrail means going further, exploring deeper, surrounded by the comfort and sophistication of a luxury SUV. It's this spirit that inspired the Overtrail project. Experience Overtrail in the LX and GX range. Lexus. Experience amazing.
Are you looking for the best savings on spectacles? At Specsavers, enjoy 1,500 Rand off when you get tested at South Africa's trusted and most established optical group. Get 1,500 Rand off all frames in store, or use your 1,500 Rand off on our leading lens enhancements, such as drive light lenses that reduce artificial glare whilst driving. Book online or call your nearest store today. Affordable eye care, Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
702 and corporates that care with Butter are talking about Butter Children's Program.
We've run school donations, volunteer days. We have about 82 people in our head office in KZN. They frequently go down to the Malvern Children's Home. The Malvern Children's Home is a home for orphans that we've adopted basically in the KZN region. We've assisted them with jungle gyms, water tanks, stationary libraries. We've built a library for them, as mentioned. Unfortunately, the Malvern Children's Home has a R1 million debt, water and electricity debt.
Sure.
So we've created a GoFundMe page, and a portion of the proceeds from our Mandela Day shoe sales will go towards this cause. So when corporates choose Toughies for their Mandela Day giving, they're not just buying the school shoes, they're helping children keep their home running.
From jungle gyms to school supplies and life-changing donations, Butter is building brighter futures. Visit butter.co.za to learn more. 702, let's walk the talk.
Coming up
On 702 Drive with John Perlman.
702 Drive coming up from 3 to 6 p.m. John Pullman is back. Hi, John. How are you doing?
Welcome
back. I know you've been back a few days, but
yes,
it's the first time I've seen you. It's good to have you.
Oh, sorry, I have to give you the same treatment as everybody else. Bonjour, et jaune.
Bonjour, Relebogile. Ça va?
Ça va bien, merci et toi?
Oui, ça va bien.
Oh, très bien. Je suis un petit fatigué.
Oui, but you have flown a very long way. Sorry, I just had to get back into character for a minute.
All right, is...
That was very unfair. I was going quite well. I'm not surprised you're tired, though.
No, I'm finished. Like, today I'm feeling it. But
yes.
Interestingly enough, you know how you can be physically exhausted, but your spirits are high. Of all the days, my spirits are very, very high today. So it's a good one. What is coming up on your show today?
Well, I must just quickly tell you, I once went to France with a friend, and when she ran out of the French that she had, she then began to speak English in a very French accent, thinking that would make a difference. This was in the 80s. And I think people were kind to her because they had no idea what she was saying. But they definitely didn't think it was English.
I love that you said the Relebogile because they just said the Lebo.
Okay.
What's coming up on your show today?
Coming up on the show, good afternoon, everybody. Right, serious voice. So, in the Constitutional Court, MK Party is challenging the actions that President Cyril Ramaphosa took, putting the police minister Senzo Mqunu on special leave, but then also bringing in someone from outside the cabinet to stand in his place. That matter is being heard. It's very lively, but what we're going to look at after 5, we'll get an update on proceedings from Khomotso Modise, who's done a great job covering it. You will have heard her in the bulletins, but we then after 5 going to look at, well, why does this matter? Because it's not entirely clear why it's made its way to the Concourt as quickly as it has. We are going to look at, staying with the courts, a problem of delayed judgments. Now, that has huge implications for people who are waiting for the outcome. Judgments are supposed to be written after 6 months. If the judgment hasn't been delivered, then the alarm bells start ringing. We'll talk about that at about 10 minutes to 4. Nhlanhla Mabaso is down in Lusikisiki, the continuation of that murder trial. And then we hope to speak to some of the people involved in drama at St. Benedict's College. They've just won a major drama award. But what interests me particularly about it is the work they performed was written by one of the students.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty remarkable. And
the Benny's boys.
And I hope we will talk to them at 20 minutes past 5.
702 Drive with John Perman. He is back, and somebody says, I'm so impressed by John's French. It's Tabo's Bobjou that kettled me the other day. Does that ring a bell? From Zeno is what they're saying, but they're impressed by your French.
Oh, merci bien.
Oh, wow. The Jean Perman is hosting a 702 Drive from 3 to 6 p.m.
702 Masterclass.
And we continue with our masterclass at 20 minutes to 3 o'clock on trauma. We are joined in this conversation by Dr. Gidumezi Mashero. Your calls on 011 883 0702, the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. Nicola from Johannesburg. Go ahead, Nicola.
Hi, Relebogile and your guests and all the listeners. Man, I just wanted to have a fantastic topic here, hot topic. I think previously I phoned in 25 years sober of drugs, and, I'm a motivational speaker today. I go around schools, church organizations, and whatever, people always give me a heads up of what I've achieved and everything, but trauma, hey, is another thing. 25 years later, I'm dealing with all the horror stories that I've done to feed my addiction. I can relate to what your guest was saying about the box. and you were even saying now we're going to talk about, the maybe we didn't know, maybe I didn't know about the trauma that I have, because I feel like I woke up a bit late, 28 years old. I went back to school to go and do my matric and everything like that, and I think the brain just stored the things that happened to me. I wasn't ready to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? So it's exactly what she was saying about it. It stored it. So when you're ready, we're gonna deal with it. And unfortunately, today when I work in the rehabs, when I work with recovering drug addicts, I can actually tell them, guys, you don't have to go through what I went through. You understand? I believe. Because I'm dealing with it now and it's so painful. I'm actually now, last night I did my third boxing training. So I feel I got so much anger that I'm carrying, so much trauma, but still so excited to be clean, and that kind of thing. But yeah, the trauma, hey, is another thing, hey. But I'm excited. I will never give up. I still believe that it's a dead thing that ruled my life in the past. But I'm up and I'm going.
Can I just say to you, Nicola, well done. Like every single day that you are walking is no small feat. So even though you're celebrating, you said 25 years,
Yes.
it does not make the daily journey that much easier for those who
100%.
understand and have dealt with addiction. The road continues, and I wish you well. And thank you just for calling in and sharing, because I think that's something many people don't think about. Yes, anger is a very big part of the expression. But let me hand over to Doctor. Doctor, I'm curious about the trauma one experiences when you realize the trauma you have inflicted, be it because of things you were doing where you're not in your right mind, or even things you did willingly and fully intentionally, even where you realize, I caused trauma that, I don't know if you refer to it as secondary trauma.
Definitely, what he's explaining is what I mentioned earlier, that trauma, raw emotions, right? Like he's talking about, well, now he's talking about anger that he's experiencing. So I'm hoping also that in this moment that he is able to actually get assistance to process that anger that he's talking about, not just through sport, but actually actively seeking clinical psychologists to help him come to, another level of his healing. But definitely when you come to the realization of what it is that you have done, whether you were in your right state of mind or not, especially people who tend to be perfectionists or hard on self, they struggle to forgive themselves. And it becomes so intense that they cannot stand the skin that they are in, which then obviously would require someone like myself to help them process that so that they can forgive themselves. And I know it's a joke commonly, among society, that when you come to see us, we tell you to first love yourself, first forgive yourself. But it's actually about that, because if you cannot forgive yourself, you can imagine you are sitting and waking up with yourself. You're stuck with yourself for the rest of your life. So you can imagine the quality of life you have when you've got so much anger towards self, right? It's going to be so hard to actually allow people into your life, because you're going to feel like you're undeserving, for example, or really feel horrible, and actually maybe project that hurt towards yourself, maybe start to self-harm or project it outward. So whatever emotion that is raw and intense, if you're not dealing with it, it will come out somewhere or another. And it's not always in an acceptable way.
Yes. There are some messages coming through. One says, please ask your guests whether you are more predisposed to future episodes of PTSD if you have been diagnosed with it in the past, and what do you do to prevent it in future? So PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yes. So yes, with post-traumatic stress disorder, if someone has experienced that and has gotten help, there is always the increased risk to get into that. But I always am of view of people that when you are self-aware, so I think it's important to understand what it is, how it manifests itself when you are not okay, right? So you can understand and actually get help to prevent it becoming a full-blown episode. So it's just important to continue with that journey. You know, we are onions. We are always peeling layers until our demise, until we pass away. So we don't actually get to a place where we are perfect. We don't aim to be perfect. There is no perfect moment where you are perfectly healed, perfectly whole. We're continually just healing as you go along on this journey like an onion, but we don't actually get to the core. So I think that's how I always look at healing, that you constantly, maybe you've healed and you've moved on, you stop therapy, but then something happens where you need to check in with your therapist again, or there's a trigger. You realize that from the episode or the previous diagnosis that there is still something to work on. Go back. So it's almost like it's a lifelong journey, but please don't be hard on self because you had it before. Just know that once you're aware of self, you can always get the help to continually be functioning in spite of being diagnosed with it previously.
We've got a voice note on 072 702 1702.
Hi, Relebogile and the doctor. In my case, I think my marriage traumatized me and my daughters, even though it's over 3 years now that we left and we no longer have a contact with the father, but his spirit still lives within us. We are happy this side, but sometimes we have the spirits where we will have disagreements, and I would feel like my older daughter is reflecting my ex-husband's personality, and she will come back and say, but you also, Mama, you have Daddy's personality. Don't you see it? We're both broken by him.
Yo, doctor.
Yeah, that is quite sad. When you are exposed to trauma, and hence I said also, trauma is not your fault, right? When someone abuses you or treats you unkindly, it's not your fault. It's unfair. It sucks. But the healing, the onus is on the victim, or else they will project that hurt they experience onto people who don't deserve it, or even onto themselves. So I'm hoping that mother and the child are seeking help to process all that they went through. And it's not automatic because time has passed, right? You always carry that in you. And for those who've heard me speak, I always speak about my story that, I went through something. And for 8 years, I was traumatized, right, by that experience. And I was a clinical psychologist doing very well, top student, and yet even me, healing didn't fall upon me because I'm the clinical psychologist. I had to be intentional about seeking help. I had to understand that I needed help. And I think that's always the difficulty with psychological things, is that you need to come to a place where you admit you have a problem. And hence we say to people with substance problem or alcohol, substance abuse issues that, just recognize that alcohol doesn't do well with you. It's your demon. And come and then seek help. Have that awareness. We don't say be sober. We don't say stop drinking for 3 days. We just say, just recognize that this thing is, accept that you have a problem with alcohol, that you're struggling with it. It doesn't treat you the same way it treats other people. Then come and get the help. Then you can benefit from the help. But also, that being said, it doesn't mean you will not relapse, right? You're a human being. You will still have stress. This has been the thing you had mastered, this alcoholism. Now we are taking it away. So yes, you might fall back on it if you are stressed. So also show yourself grace and understand that, it's going to be a day-to-day intentional journey for life.
Yes, we need to take a break. When we come back, very big one on the WhatsApp line, 072 702 and 702 when we come back.
This past Sunday, Joburg walked the talk together. Thousands stepped up, stepped out, and stepped forward. And none of it would have been possible without the incredible partners who walked this journey with us.
The highlight for Himalaya Wellness being here today for Walk the Talk was that the relevant space, we are around health-conscious people that want to be their better selves, and they also just want to live well, live herbal. So that's why we took the decision to be here. This is our first, but certainly not our last. So we look forward as Himalaya Wellness on being here next year as well as a partner of 702 Walk the Talk.
A heartfelt thank you to every sponsor who made this year's 702 Walk the Talk possible. You powered the spirit of a city walking as one. The 702 Walk the Talk was hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane.
Dear Journal, trying to be an adult, day 3,274. Every time I go to a fancy birthday dinner, I'm reminded I'm just 5 fancy birthday dinners away from financial ruin. Note to self, don't make any more born in June friends.
Recently removed from the family payroll. Get covered at pineapple.co.za. It's like 570 Rand a month, so it's 100% the insurance for you. Underwritten by Old Mutual Alternative Risk Transfer Insurer Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP. Premiums are risk profile dependent.
So we did a thing, a full commitment kind of thing. We've partnered with Sixt to bring worldwide to your doorstep. So you see how that's a serious thing, because that's what you deserve. We know you're the GOAT, so premium it is. Premium service, premium vehicles, premium you, premium us. Sani Sixt is all about adding extra to ordinary. Extra reach, extra countries, so you can be extra premium worldwide. Be the greatest of all time and rent Sani Sixt.
PG Glass Repair, PG Glass Replace.
I'm Telane from PG Glass. Got a chip? We'll fix it with precision, and we offer cash deals on high-quality new windscreens.
Visit pg.co.za today for trusted service.
702
Masterclass.
8 minutes to 3 o'clock. We continue with our masterclass on trauma. If we do not get to you, we will have another part to this conversation because there's so many things we did not cover. But I definitely would love to just keep the lines open for all of you that need to engage with our guest, Dr. Guy Dumetse Mashero, as we talk about trauma. 011-883-0702 and the WhatsApp line 072-702-1702. Doctor, there's a WhatsApp that has come through which reads as follows. Relebogile, I just tuned in and I'm already resonating. I need saving, please. My life has been turned upside down. In the past 5 years, in and out of ICU due to a chronic disease, my family has been called twice to say goodbye to me. I live in and out of a wheelchair and now I use a walking stick. My husband does not believe in counseling for myself or our children, regardless of several doctors' advice. I'm now such an angry, broken Santon housewife who drinks too much and resents her husband. This is a tough one.
Yeah. It's quite sad because we're still dealing with so much stigma around seeking help. And I'm wondering, if she has tried to get help, there's various ways, telephone counseling, or does the husband really prevent her from, contacting help in that way as well? So it sounds like it's quite a sad situation. And where children are involved, I always tell people that when children are deprived of basic rights, and counseling for me, or their mental health state, is also something basic that they deserve. So social workers can be involved if it's that intense, where if the children are suffering, get them help. But it's really unfortunate to hear what's happening with the caller, and I really hope that they do sort of find ways to process that anger and to seek help also for the substance use that they have mentioned, so they can thrive in spite of what's happening. The thing about trauma is we really need to be intentional about choosing ourselves to be a healthier version of self, but it's not always easy. It takes so much courage, and sometimes it doesn't vanish, that trauma, right? It's always something that would really change the trajectory of your life, but we're hoping that you grow from that in a healthy, thriving way, instead of course, being destructive towards others or towards self. So I really hope that they find the courage. Maybe they can speak to someone around them. If not, the husband is not listening, maybe a relative that could really assist them in getting the help that it sounds like that they need.
Oh, here's another one. Relebogile, I recently listened to your podcast, the Relebogile Mabotja podcast you did with a local hip-hop artist and a legend, and he insisted he doesn't remember things and has never experienced trauma and actually thinks others project their trauma. Please ask the doctor if it's possible for some people to never experience trauma despite experiencing life challenges, or if that's a coping mechanism in itself?
It can happen that, as we stated earlier in the conversation, that trauma is about how you perceive the thing that happened to you, right? So it's about something both of us can go through the same thing, and one of us has a traumatic response to that thing and the other person doesn't. And there's many factors that influence this, either our environment, our childhood, our perspective on life, our personality, how we are wired, and the things we are predisposed to. So it is possible that this person, in their view, the things that they are more resilient than others. There is that possibility. And at the same breath, yes, some people are overcompensating by, pretending or being too happy about certain scenarios. But for me, it is possible that the things that they have been through, that they don't see them as traumatic just because of the way they are wired in terms of how they view the world, how they view experiences, how they view themselves as well.
Umpile in Sunninghill says, how does one deal with failure? You start businesses and they fail. You start a relationship, they fail. Is that a reflection of your self-esteem, or you just need to keep trying?
A lot can be said with that because, failure is something that is a part of life. But if it's happening in the different areas of our lives, sometimes we tend to think, negative things have more energy. We tend to focus on them only and not on the great things that have happened, right, that were beyond our control. And we need to understand that when in this life that there will be bad things that happen. But if you're of view that only bad things are happening to you, you will then sort of spiral, and that's all you will see. A great thing can happen to me. I sit here, and when I go out and I trip and fall, all I can see is the fall I had. And I call people, I sue people, I continually sue people, and I actually forget. So our brain tends to be to remember negative things more than positive things. So if the person who wrote the text, if I was to sit with them, I would really want the evidence for these failures and understand what's happening there, but to also see what has worked. And it takes efforts to actually rewire our brain to have that balanced view, right? To see, in spite of these things, not to downplay them, to acknowledge the negative things, but to also say what has worked in spite of everything happening that was negative.
Doctor, we're going to... Yes, indeed. We're going to have to leave it there, but we will definitely have another opportunity to chat to you again about trauma.
Thank you.
Did you ever work in the UK? If you did for at least 3 years and you're under 67, you can get a guaranteed UK state pension worth up to 5 million rand over a typical retirement for just a small payment directly to UK revenue. Most people get 40 rand back for every rand they pay in. There's a big queue at UK revenue as this opportunity may end soon, so act fast. Call Extra Pension in Cape Town or see extrapension.com. Mind your UK pension and it'll mind you. Service fees apply.
Elevate your flying experience with Lift Premium. Enjoy even more space, comfort, and convenience with priority boarding, extra baggage allowance, and complimentary lounge access. Visit lift.co.za today.
For everybody going through a traumatic, difficult time or